YouTube, it's Angela. Today we're going to be making chocolate cupcakes with raspberry frosting. Today we're going to need flour, sugar, milk, white vinegar, canola oil, 2 eggs, cocoa powder, vanilla extract, baking powder, salt, baking soda, and we're going to need some coffee for tools. We're going to need an electric mixer. You can use a stand mixer. We're going to need a 2-cup measuring cup and 2 1-cup measuring cups. We're also going to need a medium-sized bowl and a large bowl, and we're going to need a spatula, 2 baking cupcake trays, a teaspoon measuring spoon, and some baking cups. So first we're going to make the buttermilk. We'll start off by measuring the white vinegar. So then what you're going to do is, once you have your 4½ teaspoons of white vinegar in there, you're going to pour the milk and make sure it goes up to 1 cup. So now you're going to stir this and let it sit for 15 minutes. While we're waiting, we're going to fill this up with 1 cup of water and then heat it for 1 minute and 30 seconds. And then pour this instant coffee blend into it. So we just took this out of the microwave. So now we're going to add a whole packet of this, if I can open it. Alright, so then you're going to stir it. And if you want to make regular coffee, that's fine. It really doesn't matter what flavor it is. So we're going to set this off to the side. And while we're waiting for our buttermilk to curdle, because that's what happens when you put vinegar in milk, we're going to mix our dry ingredients. So we're going to mix 1 3/4 cup all-purpose flour. So now what you want to do is you want to level it off and check, and it's about 3/4 cup, or 1 3/4. And then next we need 2 cups of sugar. So now we're going to measure 2 cups of this. So then you're going to pour this in your bowl with your flour. Then you're going to measure 3/4 cup of unsweetened baking cocoa. So this is 3/4 cup. So now we're going to put it in the same bowl with our flour and sugar. So for this next part, you're going to need baking powder, baking soda, and salt. Okay. So then 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and then 1 teaspoon of baking powder. You're going to mix it all up with your fork. So now we're going to add the buttermilk to our newly emptied bowl. And see, it's all curdly. And then just pour it right in. For this recipe, you actually don't need any butter, which I find really helpful because butter is expensive. So we need 1/2 cup of oil. And with our newly emptied cup filled with buttermilk stuff, we're going to put in some oil. So now we're going to add the 1/2 cup of oil to our whole cup of buttermilk. We're going to add 2 eggs, room temperature. So I'm going to show you how to crack an egg with 1 hand. This is very important. So what you do is you hold it like this, you hit it on the side, make sure it's like this, and then you just go like that. I'll do it again because we have to do 2 eggs. So you hold it like this, smash it, and then you just pry it open. So now make sure to put these in the trash or garbage disposal, and make sure to wash your hands. Please wash your hands. So now we're going to add the 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Alright, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Since it kind of splashes everywhere, I like to mix it with a fork. So you can take the fork from your dry ingredients and make sure you stab the egg yolks so that they get all incorporated. And you can just whisk it by hand. So now you're going to finally take your mixer. You're going to add in about 1/3 of the dry ingredients to the wet ingredients. So just dump them in. Alright, so now we're just going to mix. I like to do it on speed 1, or the first speed, whatever your mixer is. And just make sure to mix it until it's well incorporated, and then you can add more of the dry mixture to the wet mixture. Once your batter looks like this, it's going to look like brownie batter, kind of. You want to add in the hot coffee, and make sure the coffee is still hot. Alright, so once it's all mixed and well incorporated, it will be very runny, and that's fine. So now we have our muffin pan, or cupcake pan, in front of us. So now we're going to line it with cupcake liners. This recipe usually makes about 2 8-inch cakes with a few extra cupcakes left over. So now we're going to fill our cupcake liners with the batter. So I have 2 cupcake trays. And this is where your spatula is going to come in handy. So now you're just going to pour it in. So now that my counter is really messy and we have all our batter in the pans, we're going to head over to the stove and we're going to put it on. So you need to preheat your oven for 350. So now we're going to make the raspberry buttercream. So for this recipe, I'm making a double recipe just because the recipe that we made for the chocolate cupcakes made 3 dozen. So I'm going to have 2 sticks of butter, 1 whole cup of raspberries, 2 16-ounce packages of powdered sugar, 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So the equipment that you're going to need to do this is a stand mixer or a hand mixer, or you can mix it by hand if you want to, a large bowl, a 1 cup measuring cup, a 1 teaspoon measuring spoon, and a 1/4 teaspoon measuring spoon. So first you're going to mix the butter, raspberries, vanilla, and salt all in this bowl. So let's put the butter in first. And you might want to cream the butter before you put anything else in just to make sure that you have a creamy base. So let's do that. So now we're going to put in the fresh raspberries and make sure you wash and dry these. It's very important to do both of those because, well, first of all, you don't want pesticides in your frosting. And second of all, if you don't dry them properly or like well enough, the water will seep into your frosting and the frosting will start to like crack. And it will not turn out the way that you want it to. So make sure you dry these raspberries. So I'm not even going to measure them, I'm just going to put them all in. And make sure you don't use frozen raspberries because the same thing will happen. It will crack because the raspberries will defrost. So let's mix this together. Okay, so now we're going to put in the 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And then we're going to put in the 1/4 teaspoon of salt. So after we mix this, we're going to add in as much powdered sugar as I think we need. It says to do 2 16-ounce packages, so 1 32-ounce package. But I'll see how much the recipe needs, how much the buttercream will thicken or not thicken. So we'll just see how it goes. Okay, so now it's time to add in the powdered sugar. So add it cup by cup. So you just dump it in there. And then mix after every cup. It's still too thin, so I'm going to add another whole cup, and then we'll just see where we go from there. So now I'm going to turn the speed up to 2 and 3, just to see if I can whip the buttercream a little bit. But if that doesn't work, then I'm going to add another cup of powdered sugar. So this still isn't quite the consistency that I'd like, so I am going to add another cup or 2 of powdered sugar. So right now, we're going to add our 6th cup, I believe. You're also going to need a spatula, which I forgot to mention, so sorry about that. I'll put it in the description, what you need for everything. So, you need to scrape down the sides of the bowl and scrape down the bottom, and just make sure it's all well incorporated and mixed. And then you can put it into your piping bag, or you can just scoop globs onto your cupcakes. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take our raspberry frosting and pipe it frosting onto our chocolate cupcake. I have a star tip. So now let's pipe the frosting on. Here's the cupcake. So now that our cupcake is frosted, we're going to set this off to the side, and we're going to cut up some baking chocolate. So just take a sharp cutting knife and just cut off a bit. And it should come out in chunks, just like this. And then you take your cupcake and you just place it right on top. And there's your cupcake.